Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Again, welcome to the stated meeting of March 13th, 2019. This is a bit of a different view, so we're all going to get through this together. I didn't bring my list of who supported me or not, so I'm going to treat everybody equally, at least for today.
Thank you. A motion to spread the minutes of the stated meeting of January 24th, 2019 be adopted and printed.
Message and papers from the mayor?
None.
Communication from the city, county, and borough offices?
Excuse me, M144 and M145, New York City Comptroller reports.
Received, ordered, printed, and filed.
Petitions and communications?
None.
Land use call-ups?
M146.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd ask for a roll call vote on all of today's land use call-ups. We are just voting on land use call-ups.
Adams.
I vote aye.
Ampry Samuel.
I vote aye.
Ayala.
I vote aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Borelli.
Aye.
Brannon.
Aye.
Cabrera.
Aye.
Chin.
Aye.
Cohen.
Aye.
Constantinidis. Aye. Cornegie.
Aye.
Deutsch.
Aye.
Diaz. Aye. Drum.
Aye.
Espinal. Eugene.
I vote aye.
Gibson.
I vote aye.
Jonai. Gordenchik. Holden.
Aye.
Kalos.
Permission to vote on all land use call-ups and general orders?
Permission granted?
Aye.
King.
Permission to vote on all call-up and all items on general order calendar today.
Permission granted?
I vote aye.
Koo.
Aye.
Kozlowitz. Lanceman. Lander. Levin.
Aye.
Levine.
Aye.
Mizell. Menchaca.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Moya.
Aye.
Perkins.
Aye.
Powers.
Aye.
Reynoso. Richards.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Rodriguez. Rose. Rosenthal. Salamanca.
Aye.
Torres. Traeger.
Aye.
Ulrich. Vallone.
Aye.
Van Bramer. Yeager.
Aye.
Matteo. Cumbo. Speaker Johnson.
Today's land use call-ups are adopted by a vote of 43 in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. All right, and we'll now have communication from the speaker, but first, I know there's been a lot of confusion, so I just want to confirm that you are the speaker of the City Council.
I am still the speaker and the acting public advocate. Thank you, public advocate-elect.
No problem.
Thanks
you.
for being here. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being with us this Wednesday. We have a busy agenda ahead of us. Before we start on today's agenda, I want to make note that today is our first meeting in Women's History, or we should say Herstory Month. The New York City Council is such a strong body because of the women who are on this council. To the impressive and inspiring members of the Women's Caucus and to also the brilliant and hardworking women on all of our staffs, I would like to say thank you and acknowledge the vital role that you all play here in this council and throughout our city. Recognizing the accomplishments and contributions of women is important, and for far too long, this city has failed in doing so, and we are changing that at City Hall. We need more women in this body, but we are changing that on the walls of City Hall. To kick off Women's History Month, we unveiled 8 new portraits of history-making women that now hang on the walls downstairs on the council side of City Hall. These trailblazing women, Antonia Pantoja, Dorothy Lee, Shirley Chisholm, Beverly Sills, Zora Neale Hurston, Frances Perkins, Alice Austin, and Dorothy Day will hold their rightful place on our walls as part of our history. There is still so much of Women's History Month we have left to celebrate, and I'm excited for the council's celebration tomorrow evening, and I'm excited to see what the women of this body will continue to accomplish in the days, months, and years to come. So I want to thank you all, and I want to give a big round of applause for the women who are on the council and the women who work here at the City Council for Women's History Month. It was said earlier, but it's important to say again, I have one last shout out before we start today's stated meeting. As everyone can see, our colleague and public advocate-elect Jumaane Williams is in the big chair today. Jumaane, I said it at the last stated meeting, and I'll say it again. You're going to be a powerful voice for New Yorkers as public advocate, and I can't wait to continue to work with you. Look at you up there, Jumaane. You look good up there in that dais. The Captain America chair really suits you as public advocate-elect. So congratulations. Now let's dive into today's agenda. The council will vote on the following land use items. Douglaston Parkway rezoning will facilitate two developments resulting in affordable housing units in Councilmember Vallone's district. We'll vote to approve 570 Fulton Street in Majority Leader Cumbo's district. The council will vote on Williamsbridge rezoning in Councilmember Mark Jonai's district. And we'll vote on Betances V1, a NYCHA application in Councilmember Diana Ayala's district for a 15-story mixed-use building and 100 affordable housing units. The council will vote on the following property tax exemptions: 6769 St. Nicholas Avenue in Councilmember Perkins' district, 3234 Putnam Cluster in Majority Leader Cumbo and Councilmember Cornegie's districts, and East Village Homes in Councilmember Carlina Rivera's district. The council will vote on a home rule message sponsored by council member and chair of our State and Federal Relations Committee, Councilmember Andy Cohen, which will authorize the state legislature to pass a bill that will allow the city to deploy up to 750 speed limit enforcement cameras in school safety zones across the city. Speed cameras have been shown to significantly slow vehicular speeds and save lives. The bill would improve the city's ability to collect fines for speed zone violations. You all know that last summer, when the state legislature adjourned and did not act on expanding the speed camera program, the city council stepped in and working with the de Blasio administration and Governor Cuomo to enact a bill that would ensure that the speed cameras would be turned on before the first day of school. I am proud the council took action on that, and I want to thank, as I always do, and pay tribute to the women and men of Families for Safe Streets who are here today, who have been the real advocates pushing for this and fighting for this. They're here with us today in the balcony today, some of the leaders, and I want to thank them for their presence as always. It's good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you all very much. Moving on, the council will vote on the following legislation. Introduction 877. Sponsored by Councilmember Robert Cornegie, would require certain city agencies to provide materials regarding lead hazards, including information on how to obtain a blood lead screening to the parents or guardians of a child under 7 years of age when such parents or guardians seek service from certain city agencies. This entire package of bills we're doing today is to strengthen our lead laws in New York City. Introduction 709, sponsored by Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer, will require the Department of Environmental Protection to provide online an interactive map with information regarding the known lead water service lines and make best efforts to identify all lead water service lines, including privately owned service lines. It will also require the department to provide information to users about lead contamination prevention, lead water test kits, and how to replace lead service lines. The department must replace any known lead water service line that's owned by the department no later than December 31st, 2025. Introduction 1063, sponsored by Councilmember Bob Holden, will require notice be given to the community board or local council member within 5 business days of discovering or becoming aware of a hazardous level of lead in soil. There was an issue in Councilmember Holden's district just before he took office, after he had already been elected. And I also want to say today is his first bill that he's passing as a council member, and I want to congratulate Councilmember Holden on passage of this bill today. Great job, Bob. Next, we're looking at Introduction 1117, sponsored by Majority Leader Lori Cumbo, which will require certain city agencies to provide materials describing, among other things, building owners' responsibilities under the city's lead laws. These agencies would also be required to inform parents or guardians when they seek services that they can obtain without cost or payment, an inspection of their dwelling unit for peeling paint, a deteriorated subservice, or an underlying defect by calling 311, and a lead testing kit for drinking water from the Department of Environmental Protection. We'll vote on the following 2 bills by Councilmember Danny Drum. Introduction 881 will require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to establish an education and outreach program to increase awareness of childhood lead poisoning prevention. And Introduction 464, which will require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene investigate potential sources of elevated blood lead levels in children, including the inspection of any dwelling where a child with an elevated blood lead level spends more than 10 or more hours per week. This bill would also require building owners to investigate and remediate lead hazards when a child spends 10 or more hours per week in one of their units. Introduction 918, sponsored by Councilman Richie Torres, would expand reporting requirements under the city's existing lead laws for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and the Department of Housing Preservation and Development. This legislation would also strengthen the city's auditing of landlords to ensure compliance with the requirements under the city's lead laws. Introduction 871, sponsored by Councilmember Joe Borelli, would require that any testing of water for lead that is required by law include a first draw sample from such source. Introduction 920, sponsored by Councilmember Mark Traeger, would extend current requirements for daycares to test for lead paint annually to other facilities with children under the age of 6, including preschools, nursery schools, and where applicable, elementary schools. And Introduction 865, which I sponsored, would reduce the minimum lead threshold the city uses when testing for presence of lead contamination. This has to do with dust and paint. It puts us at the level that federal standards are asking for. And I want to thank the amazing staff. The staff worked really, really, really hard on these bills for almost 2 years. I want to give a big round of applause for the staff for their great work. They're right in the back over there. Thank you all very, very much. And I want to say before turning it back over to the public advocate, folks should feel, council members should feel very, very proud of this package of bills we're voting on today. For far too long, too many children in New York City have been poisoned by lead, and city agencies have not done the necessary enforcement based off of previous legislation that was passed under then Speaker Gifford Miller. Councilmember Perkins was a key leader in passing that legislation when he was in the council in his previous time here. Too many children, predominantly children of color, predominantly in low-income neighborhoods, predominantly in the South Bronx and Upper Manhattan and Central Brooklyn and Southeast Queens, have been poisoned, affecting them for the rest of their lives. Behavioral issues, developmental issues, unable to attain their dreams that they have had or their parents have had for them. And today, the City Council, this package of bills we're passing, is the most expansive, wide-ranging, far-reaching lead legislation in the entire country, in the entire United States of America. I am sorry that it's taken so long for us to do this, not in this council, but as a city, because so many young people, so many children have suffered. And people think this is just children in NYCHA, when actually 80% of the children that have been poisoned are children that are in private residential buildings in New York City. And so today we are passing laws to be a leader for the city, but to be a leader for the entire country, to show what can be done, to show what's possible, to show and hopefully blaze a path for what other municipalities can do to protect children across our country. But make no mistake, this package of bills, while it is an important package, a great package, a groundbreaking package, it is only as good as the enforcement that is done. And so the Department of Buildings and the Department of Housing Preservation and Development and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, these agencies must step up now and must enforce these laws in a stringent and comprehensive way to protect children and their families across New York City. So today is a great day for this body because of the work that all of us have done collectively on this. And today is a great day for the future of children in New York City. I am very proud of all of you that have worked so hard on all of this, and I ask all of us to enthusiastically support this package of bills. That concludes our agenda for today's stated meeting. I look forward to proceeding with today's votes. Thank you, Public Advocate-elect Jumaane Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations on this body for the package that it's going to pass. When I was an early organizer, I believe it was called Local Law 1, was one of the first bills I learned about and really saw come to fruition from people organizing. So I'm sorry as well it took this long, but I'm proud that this body is moving forward on this package of legislations. We will now move into the discussion of general orders. Seeing none, report of special committees.
None.
Reports of standing committees.
Report of the Committee on Environmental Protection, intros 709A and 1063A, lead water service lines and soil contamination.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Health, intros 865A through intro 1117A on page 3, lead remediation.
Amended and coupled in general orders, and I was remiss, Mr. Clerk, in not acknowledging during my prepared remarks that the chair of our Health Committee worked very, very hard on this package of bills for a long time, has been a leader on this issue. His district is a district that has seen a disproportionate amount of lead paint poisoning amongst children. He did a fabulous job conducting the hearings and working with all of the colleagues and the staff here on the passage of today's bills. So I want to thank the chair of our Health Committee, Mark Levine, for his work on this. And this package under the Health Committee is amended and coupled in general orders.
Report of the Committee on Housing and Buildings, Intro 464B, lead-based paint hazards.
Amended and coupled in general orders.
Report of the Committee on Land Use, LU 330 and Reso 782 through LU 332 and Reso 784, Douglaston Parkway rezoning and St. Nicholas Avenue.
Coupled in general orders.
LU 335 through LU 337, Fulton Street rezoning.
Approved with modifications and referred to the City Planning Commission pursuant to Rule 11.70B of the Rules of the Council and Section 197D of the New York City Charter.
LU 342 and Reso 785 through LU 344 and Reso 787, tax exemptions.
Coupled in general orders.
LU 345 and Reso 788 through LU 349 and Reso 790, Williamsbridge Road rezoning and East Village Homes.
Coupled in general orders.
LU 350 and 351, Betances V1.
Approved with modifications and referred to the City Planning Commission pursuant to Rule 11.70B of the Rules of the Council and Section 197D of the New York City Charter.
Report of the Committee on State and Federal Legislation, Preconsidered SLR1, Speed Cameras.
Coupled on general orders.
On the General Order Calendar, Intro 720, Site Safety Training.
Laid over.
LU 335 and Reso 791 through LU 351 and Reso 795, approved modifications.
Coupled on general orders.
Resolution appointing various persons, Commissioner of Deeds.
Coupled on general orders. And at this time, I'd ask for a roll call vote on all of the items on today's general order calendar.
Adams.
I vote aye on all.
Ampry Samuel.
Aye on all.
Ayala.
Aye on all.
Barron.
I vote aye on all with the exception of 343 and 344. I think those are the numbers for 570 Fulton Street, and the accompanying resolutions, 342, 343, and 344, and the accompanying resolutions. I think we heard recently that about 70%, my number might be a little high, of the city lives at or below the median income. And until we can match the number of apartments that we are putting online and calling affordable to the number that exists or somewhere close to that, we're not going to address the housing crisis that we are facing. Thank you.
Borelli.
Aye on all except SLR 1.
Brannan. Cabrera.
Aye.
Chin.
I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Cohen.
Aye.
Constantinidis.
With congratulations to the Speaker and to all my colleagues on the passage of the bills today, I vote aye on all.
Carnegie. Deutsch.
Aye and all.
Diaz.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Mr. Public Advocate-elect. Today I'm taking this opportunity to congratulate you on your election and to let you know that I'm pretty sure you know that this council in the past eliminated a committee called for Hire Vehicle Committee. I used to work fighting for the taxi industry. Maybe you as a public advocate could use your influence because Uber for many years was allowed to function as a black car even though it was a taxi company. The yellow taxi industry was destroyed by a medallion that used to have a value of $1.5 million, now just worth $200,000. 9 taxi drivers have taken their life because of the situation in which they were put through for many years. That committee was functioning, and I'm pretty sure that as a public advocate, you could use your influence to advocate for the taxi industry and bring that committee back. That committee was a good committee, and I think it was a mistake to disband that committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote yes.
Drum.
Aye.
Espinal. Eugene.
I vote aye.
Gibson.
I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Jonai. Gordenchik.
I just want to add my voice to that of my colleagues who've spoken already on the lead package. It is an outrage that we are still dealing with this matter at this date and time. I want to thank the Speaker, my colleagues who drew up this legislation, Chair Levine, and all of us today who are voting on this. The time is way past due, and I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Barron.
Yes, I just want to make a correction. The numbers that I'm voting no on are land use 343, 344, 345, and land use 335, 336, and 337. Thank you.
Holden.
I vote.
Koo.
Aye on all.
Kozlowitz. Lanceman.
Aye.
Lander.
Request permission to explain?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Public Advocate-elect. Very good to see you up there. This is really a good day to be in the council for protecting the lives of kids and expanding opportunity for the future of our city. So I just want to give big props to the Speaker and Chair Levine and all the sponsors of the lead paint bills, and also, of course, just express enormous gratitude to the Families for Safe Streets leaders who are up in the balcony, because quadrupling the number of speed cameras is one more way we are truly going to save the lives of children in this city, and it is because of people like you. I vote aye on all.
Mario.
No on SLR 1, aye on the rest.
Levin.
I vote aye on all.
Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Public Advocate-elect. Permission to very briefly explain my vote?
Very briefly, yes.
Okay, I promise. I'll follow your lead on that.
We're in trouble then. We're in trouble.
We miss you here in the back row, by the way. I just want to compliment my colleagues who are passing bills in this sweeping package to protect children from lead poisoning. When we passed landmark legislation in 2004, there was wording in the bill which made a promise to the people of the city that we would eradicate this epidemic by the year 2010. And here we are 9 years later with an average of 4,000 children a year diagnosed with lead poisoning. We have failed in that promise that we made, and I am glad we're taking a decisive step today towards righting that wrong with a sweeping package of bills. And I want to compliment my colleagues who have bills that came to the Health Committee, and I will be pleased to be voting aye on all. Thank you.
Mizell. Yes. Menchaca.
Aye on all.
Miller.
I vote aye.
Moya.
Aye on all.
Perkins.
Very happy to support this legislation and therefore vote aye on all.
Powers.
Aye on all, and I want to congratulate my friend Councilmember Holden on his first bill. I see he's wearing the New York colors today, so congratulate to him. Thanks.
Reynoso. Richards.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
So I want to congratulate my colleagues on this package of bills and certainly thank the Speaker for his leadership on this. And this is one of those days when you start to really understand how significant the work we do day in and day out affects communities. And I was trying to not speak, but felt I had to speak because the damage that has been done to many black and brown, and we need to call it for what it is, black and brown children in this city who will never recover from lead hazards is significant. Also, the need for extensive services for many of these children who've been affected by lead as well is something that we have to continue to monitor and take serious. You know, when you talk about communities who seem to deal with every disparity that there is, whether it's in the criminal justice system, whether it's a lack of access to healthy foods, but then to compound lead on top of that. You look at the IEP numbers in a lot of our schools and how some of our communities have an overwhelming abundance of those IEPs. That is all a culmination of the environment that seems to be sustained in communities of color. So this is very emotional to see this happen with a 3-year-old, because as a parent now, I can understand the ramifications that many of these children will have on them for the rest of their lives. So I'm grateful for this council in passing this significant package of bills, and to all my colleagues who led on this. But you know, God willing, we won't have to be back here again today to ask for a quality of life that many other communities have. So with that, I vote aye. Thank you.
Rivera.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rose.
Mr. Public Advocate, for all the times that you asked to explain your vote, I'm going to ask to explain my vote.
I was usually pretty quiet, if I remember. My recollection is permission granted.
Thank you. On behalf of all the youth in New York City, I want to thank my colleagues for this very strong and comprehensive package of bills. And I do so with the hope that this will mitigate the scourge of lead poisoning, and that we will no longer have to use resources from New York City to serve and to help young people that could have avoided this unfortunate health hazard. Thank you. And I vote aye.
Rosenthal.
With congratulations to Councilmember Holden in New York City, blue and orange. I want to see if he stands up again. And aye on all.
Salamanca.
Aye on all.
Torres.
Aye and all.
Traeger.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Public Advocate-elect. Today, we're voting on my legislation, Intro 920, that will extend current lead paint testing and remediation requirements for daycare facilities operating in structures erected before January 1st, 1978, to other facilities serving children under 6, including preschools, nursery schools, and schools when applicable. The most common cause of lead poisoning is exposure to lead paint. My legislation will take common sense regulations about testing and remediation for hazardous lead paint at daycare facilities and apply them to other facilities that serve all children under 6, including schools, preschools, and nursery schools. This bill is a measure to help us meet our responsibility to protect the health of every child in our city. We have to make sure that our children are protected from unnecessary and avoidable harm to their health. I'm proud that this legislation is part of the Council's comprehensive approach towards fighting back against lead poisoning, and I thank the Speaker really for not just shepherding this through, but pushing back against the pushback that we received over and over again. Speaker Johnson's leadership was unwavering, and I really do appreciate him and all the sponsors of all their bills. And with that, I vote aye on all.
Ulrich.
I vote aye.
Vallone.
Aye on all.
Van Bramer.
I vote aye on all.
Jaeger.
Mr. President, may I be excused to explain my vote?
You say Mr. President?
Yes. I'm very formal with the titles.
I don't know about that, but permission granted.
Was that a yes?
Yes, it's permission
All right,
granted.
thank you, sir. It's good to see you up there. And I will miss you on the border that we share. And my parents have to get a new council member now. But you're looking good up there, and I'm very proud of you. Mr. President, I want to congratulate my colleagues, of course, Mr. Speaker, and the chairs of the committees, Chairman Constantinides, the committee I'm proud to serve on, and all the council members who have brought forward these wise measures that will save lives. And it's not hyperbole to say that we will change generations in the future by these measures that we're passing today. And I'm proud to cast my vote in favor of all of them, aye on all, with the exception of SLR 1. Thank you.
Cumbo. Speaker Johnson.
Well, congratulations to everyone who had a bill today. Special congrats to Councilmember Holden, who passing his first bill. All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 47 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, with the exception of LUs 343, 344, 345, with accompanying resos, which was adopted by a vote of 46 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, and LUs 335, 336, 337, and accompanying resos, which is adopted by a vote of 46 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, and SLR 1, which was adopted by a vote of 44 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. The revised land use call-up votes are 47 in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. Introduction and reading of the bills.
All bills have been referred to committees as indicated on the agenda. And before I know, Mr. Public Advocate, we get to general discussion. Only one member has signed up for general discussion, which is great. So if no one else wants to sign up, we're gonna hear from that one great member, and then hopefully we'll be out of here. So hopefully no one else signs up. Thank you, Mr. Public Advocate.
No pressure. All right, there are no resolutions to be voted on today. We will now move into general discussion. We will begin and maybe end with Councilmember Barron.
Barron, how did we know? Thank you. This is Women's History Month. I'm going to be very brief. I just have a list of famous black women that I would like to share with you. And of course, being a teacher, I put it in alphabetical order. Now, so you'll notice some of the letters are the first names, others are the last name. Marian Anderson, Ella Baker, Shirley Chisholm, Ruby Dee, Merle Evers, Aretha Franklin, Nikki Giovanni, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, because I couldn't get the I, Mae Jameson, Coretta Scott King, Audre Lorde, Winnie Mandela, Queen Nzinga, Michelle Obama, Rosa Parks, Queen Mother Moore, Della Reese, Harriet Tubman, Adwara Lili Ulasia, who's a Nigerian writer, Iyanla Van Zandt, Ida B. Wells, Betty X, of course, Malcolm X's wife, because I couldn't get the X, Yolanda Adams, and Zora Neale Hurston. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councilmember Rivera.
Oh, hey, everyone.
It's Women's History Month.
I just want to take a moment. That's for all y'all that was mean to me just now. That was just for you. So no, I realized that what I should do is say permission to explain my vote and then say everything I have to say in general discussion then, and then it's usually accepted. Sarcasm aside, I just want to tell everyone that today I was at 2 different housing rallies. One was for tenants who are first generation, they're immigrants, and they continue to be intimidated and harassed by their landlord. And the other one was along with my colleagues about enforcement for stand for tenant safety. And I say all that because we're in a housing crisis, and last stated, I did not stand up for sake of time and talk to a little bit about the bills that Keith Powers and I introduced as a package of legislation on brokers' fees and on security deposits. So I wanted to ask you all to seriously consider signing on to 1423, 1424, 1431, 32, and 33, and to please help us as we try to address the housing crisis, specifically as it comes to people in the rental market. Thank you very much. I appreciate your patience. Have a great weekend, everyone.
That was worth it. That was worth it. I do want to say, as this is my first stated, it's pretty cool up here. To go from a knuckleheaded kid from Brooklyn to a pretty rambunctious council member, excited to be in the Captain Marvel or Captain America chair. And I'm just proud to have done it in a way that folks said I could not. So just thank you to my colleagues, to the speaker, to everyone in the city. But for posterity, right before we close, I would like to take a selfie. All right. We will now call on the speaker to close today's meeting.
The stated meeting of March 13th, 2019 is thankfully hereby adjourned.